Coming up on the Football Today podcast, Kevin de Bruyne has returned and has sounded an ominous warning to the rest of the EPL. Myself, the stats guy, and Marcus break it all down. We take a look at Australia's opening game in the Asian Cup, as well as who is the bell end of this week and who scored the goal of the week. It's all coming up right now on Football Today. Hello and welcome to the Football Today podcast. It is January 16th. I seem to have missed the memo. I came into the office today expecting to do some work, but the two chuckleheads, McAllion and Marcus Bazzano, are like, you know what, Alex, you went away last week to the Gold Coast, so stuff ya. We're going to stay at home this week. Lads, how are we doing?
Going really well. Going very well. Got my very Amsterdam themed here with Rotterdam and Ajax, but yeah, going well. Yeah, I had to stay away from you, but we still got to do the pod, so that's all good.
Yeah, that was just payback for you not coming along to watch the cricket last night, I reckon.
Yeah,
I was away for a week. The last thing I wanted to do was go outside again. I wanted to sit at home for a couple of hours and actually relax. Be like, I have actual stuff to do tomorrow, but we are here for the Football Today podcast. We're here to wrap up the weekend that was in the EPL, the Asian Cup, the African Cup of Nations, and everything else that's going on in the world of football right now. But usually, as always, we do here on the EPL show, we start off with a yeah, nah, and Marcus is coming in with this week's yeah, nah.
I certainly am, and I think it's very well themed based off what's happened on the weekend with Kevin de Bruyne's return. But yeah, nah, boys. Kevin de Bruyne is the best Premier League midfielder of all time.
Oh,
all time.
I've been thinking about this since I saw you put in the run sheet. So you got Scholesy. I feel like he's up there. You got Lampard, probably my favourite player of all time, being a Chelsea fan. I think Stevie G. I'd probably put Scholes or Lampard as my number one. But De Bruyne, by the time he finishes his career, he's not far off, is he? He's probably one of the best. He's probably the best passing midfielder. I'm
going to keep it central midfield. So no gigs, no wide midfielders. Yep. Purely Cam, CM, CDM.
Yeah. What do you reckon, Alex?
I'm going to go because his resume says it all. He has literally won everything. I know it's obviously you got to look at this as well as trophies like Stevie G, probably one of the best of all time. Didn't win it. Well, he won a Champions League, but didn't win a Premier League. De Bruyne, countless Premier Leagues, Champions League, FA Cups, everything else. So after that performance on the weekend, it's recency bias, but also when you think about it and go look at since he joined Manchester City, 6 or 7 years ago, since then, basically he's been the glue that's helped them win all of these titles.
Yeah, like I said before, I'm going to lean towards him being in the top 3 behind Scholesy and Lampard. But if you ask me this question, if we're still on this ball, when we're still on this podcast, in maybe a year's time, I reckon I probably could put him one, Marcus. But it's just tough putting a current player. That recency bias, I feel like he's an absolute legend, and he already is. He's got 5 Premier Leagues. I had a look before. But yeah, I feel like Scholesy and Lampard, I think just pip him at the moment. What about your own? Marcus, what do you reckon?
It's really close at the moment. I think I'll have to wait till the end of his career, but I reckon he's on par with Scholes at the moment. I'd probably have him and Scholes as the best. Probably even as a Chelsea fan, I'm going to go maybe Gerrard ahead of Lampard possibly. But he's up there definitely.
This just makes me sad about thinking. I saw a compilation this morning of gun English midfielders, and they went through. There was a Frank Lampard, a Stevie G, and then Jack Wilshere came on. I'm like, he didn't get injured. How good he could have been, not just for Arsenal, but for England. Poor
his complimation was elite.
We need to say that word right, please.
Just whatever. Anyway, apparently some FIFA awards happened over the night, and I really usually don't care about many of these awards, but I do want to complain that Lionel Messi has won the Best Men's Player of the Year 2023 ahead of Mbappe and Erling Haaland. Erling Haaland came to the English Premier League for the first time at he's 22, 23 years old. He broke the goal-scoring record and won the friggin' treble. Messi, they won a World Cup. Okay, that's 1 month out of the year. Haaland dominated for 12 months. He was a better player than Messi in 2023.
Was the World Cup actually the year before?
No, it was in 2022. So.
Yeah, so does that count towards this award?
22-23 season, I'd be thinking.
I'm still leaning towards Messi. He had one of the best World Cups of all time.
Okay, and he had a good month.
And I think the World Cup just if you do something amazing in the World Cup, it gives you a few extra brownie points in these sort of awards.
Oh,
It is tough not to pick Haaland, but I'd still be picking Messi just.
Yeah, I think a lot of it is more storyline based, which is a bit concerning. He ended up equal points with Haaland, actually. They both had 48 points for the best men's player, but Messi had more first choice nominations, which meant he won. So
a bit lucky.
Haaland pretty stiff.
Yep. Edison won the best goalkeeper. You'd just say that's him or Alisson every year. You've got no real complaints there. But if he's won the best goalkeeper of the year, how come in the World 11 for the year, Courtois is the goalkeeper? That made no sense to me.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't make much sense, does it?
Yeah, that's what I was looking at that World 11, which we'll talk about in a bit. I think there's some iffy calls in there, especially when other people are winning the award. I feel like surely if you win the award, you're in the team. What is going on?
Yeah. And with that, Pep wins the best men's coach of 2023. Fair, won the treble. Can't really knock that. For the women's, before we get on this men's team, Sam Kerr was in the women's World 11. I felt that the Spanish women were a bit undersold here with only 2 players in that World 11. Yeah. They did win the World Cup after all, so I feel like they were exceptionally stiff to only have 2 players in the World 11. And then you could also say you have a look at a player like Caitlin Ford, who didn't get a mention in there. She was fantastic throughout the season, not just for Australia, but for Arsenal. So I don't know, maybe it's a very English bias thing, that World 11 squad.
There was a lot of English players in there, wasn't there, for the women's?
Yeah, it's in world football with transfers and things like that. It's just a lot of English bias in both the men's and women's. So, yeah, you're right. I think there was so many underrated Spanish players in that Women's World Cup.
Yeah, to the men's 11, well, I'll just run through it quickly. So you got Courtois as your goalie, Kyle Walker, John Stones, Ruben Diaz, Bernardo Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, Jude Bellingham, Messi, Haaland, Mbappe, and Vinicius Jr. The one that I'm going to complain about here is John Stones. Why is he in the team? There is many better centre-backs throughout the year than him. I feel like he's a bit lucky to get in there. And even Kyle Walker, they've just literally picked a back 3 from Manchester City, but Virgil van Dijk and William Saliba, I feel, are a little stiff not to be in there from a Premier League point of view. I can't really talk about much of the other leagues because I'll be honest, I don't watch too many of them, but you think a player like Alphonso Davies as well could have potentially got a mention from Bayern Munich, but it's literally just Manchester City and the rest of the dudes.
Yeah, I feel like there's way too much bias towards City. I think a little bit of bias around
They did win the treble.
They did win the treble, but that seems like way too many players. When you got the whole world to go by, I think Vinicius Jr. as well. I'm not sure about if I would have him in my side. I think he's really good.
Well, I'd have him. Well, yeah.
You'd have him? Or,
I'd have him too, stats guy.
I feel like his stats, I'm just probably going off the stats like I like to do, but I wouldn't have him in my side. I feel like he's a bit flashy player that, he's still a freak, but I don't think I would have him in the best 11. I feel like they've done a very average job of this 11.
You get to take out one player and replace them with someone. Who's your one player that you're taking out of and who you're replacing them with?
I don't mind your Van Dijk call. Stones out for Van Dijk because I feel like...
Well, I'm Stones for Saliba, obviously, but yeah.
Saliba, yeah. Who would you go, Mark?
I'm not sure actually who I'd bring in. I'd probably take John Stones out of that. I think there's a lot of English bias with John Stones. And even Bernardo Silva, he gets rotated a lot.
Yeah.
But he's a quality player. He's one of the best in the world, and he probably is the best in the world technically, probably behind Messi. But minutes-wise, possibly take him out. But then you're looking at midfield-wise, who do you bring in?
I got actually a bit of a shout. Rodri. I forgot about Rodri. I'd probably take him over
replacing
Stones.
a City player with a City player. It
is a City player, but if you're going to have, 5 City players, I think you've got to have Rodri. Rodri's in their top 5 players.
6.
Is there a bit of recency bias? I'm just throwing it out there for Jude Bellingham since his move to Real Madrid.
No, because his World Cup was ridiculous. So
they did have an easy run though. They had a very easy run in that World Cup until they faced France, which they bombed out of. Yeah,
no, I think at his age as well, just performing on the World Cup, I don't really care who they were playing. Just to perform for England like that, the way he was doing, I'm happy to put him in there.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. When we start off with the EPL, we always start off with Ange Ball status. Of course, Ange Postecoglou at the helm at Tottenham. I can't believe you just gave a fist pump stats guy. You're a Chelsea fan. That's sort of sacrilegious.
I'm more of an Ange fan than a Chelsea fan.
Wow.
I've said that before.
That's whoever clips this up, Leo or Gerald, please clip this up and put that on social media. That stats guy goes for the manager more than his team. And of course, crosstown rivals in London.
I wouldn't mind if.
No, don't try and backtrack now,
Chelsea.
stats guy. Don't try and backtrack. You have made your bed, and now you are lying it as we
That's
bury
right.
you.
I just support the Australians, unlike some other people. That's okay.
Yes, I support my team. Anyway, Ange ball status. Better than Manchester United, but still not that great.
Yeah, but they definitely had chances to win that game. It's just obviously the way Ange plays defensively, you're going to get caught out.
Yeah.
And I thought Pedro Porro was fantastic in attack, but both of his Tottenham goals conceded came down his side. So there's a bit of you got to get a bit of yin yang in there with the way it's playing. Will they win some trophies with the way that Ange is playing? Do they need to be more defensively stable in the bigger leagues, bigger tournaments of the world? Probably.
They're only in the FA Cup, aren't they? So
they've made some good signings, though. I think defensively, Drew Goosen coming in, he looks like a real beast.
Yeah, well, Werner got an assist as well, so that was actually pretty surprising that he had an instant impact. Yeah, it is worrying when Man U, I think it was only 2 shots on target and they had 2 goals. So when you give them some easy chances like that, especially when Tottenham were probably the better side, they probably just need to be just 5% more defensive, and they could have won that game 2-1 rather than all their fullbacks running up. It is how Ange plays. He's never going to change. He's done that for his whole career, so it'll just be interesting to see if they can hold on with this type of tactic.
There was more an indictment on Manchester United that Tottenham missing James Maddison, Song, and a host of others through injury and suspension, that they got dominated by Tottenham at home. It was more an indictment on that. So you'd think that Tottenham, once everyone comes back, should be able to make a run. But yeah, I hate talking about Tottenham in a glowing fashion because as an Arsenal fan, it just feels gross. Anyway. Time for On the Spot. Of course, this is the performance of the week, the Timmy Cahill Boxing a Flag Award for Who's Hot in the EPL. And this is the first time and probably only time this season, given that there was only 5 games in the EPL last weekend, we have come to the same consensus as to who's hot in the EPL. Kevin de Bruyne.
Yeah, KDB. I put him in first. I'm getting on him. Coming on just for 21 minutes, goal and an assist. Did he end up getting man of the match? He definitely got the most points, the bonus points in Fantasy Premier League. I brought him into my Fantasy Premier League team, and I was a bit annoyed that he didn't start, and then he absolutely dominated, goal and assist in 21 minutes. And as Marcus mentioned, arguably one of the best midfielders of all time in the Premier League.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? Like he's come off the bench. His match sharpness wouldn't have been great. He came off the bench in the FA Cup.
Yeah.
He's come off the bench here, and then he plays that pass. Look, wow, to win them the game at St. James's Park. He's a freak of nature, isn't he?
He's awesome.
He literally came on for 21 minutes and took the absolute piss. And everyone just when he came on, oh, yeah, City are going to win.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
They were going through the commentators were going through it. You just give him sort of 2 seconds of space in that midfield. His eyes dart everywhere, and he can find the pass. You're just going to be right up on him. I'd put 2 CDMs on him at every chance you get. I know that's really hard to do in the Premier League because the ball's pinging around so fast, but you cannot give him any space. Sort of like a point guard in basketball. He just sort of darts around, can do the no-look passes and things like that.
All game, Newcastle were giving them that space, even when it was Phil Foden in that position anyway. So it wasn't just a KDB thing. It was was Eddie Howe's game plan, and it worked for 89.5 minutes.
Yeah,
unfortunately for them. They were in the game based off a bunch of individual brilliance, which we'll get to in our goal of the weeks.
Yep. The opposite of the performance of the week is the bell end of the week as to who is not hot in the EPL. Stats guy, you go first.
I'm sick of talking about him. I feel like we talked about him in one of the early episodes, but Anthony, what is he doing? He's got 0 goal contributions in 22 games across all competitions. I was scrolling through all the competitions. I'm like, surely he's got one in the Champions. No, he hasn't got a goal or assist. And then Werner, it's just funny that Werner's played 1 game for Spurs, and he's probably people were a bit worried about that one. He's got an assist from his first game, so he's already got more goal contributions than Anthony. He's just really off, and they paid a lot. What did they end up paying for him?
100 million.
100 million. That's what it was. I just wanted to double check. Yeah, 100 million. That's going to be one of the worst signings of all time. Anthony just needs to pull his finger out. What is he doing?
It honestly still shits me that he scored a goal in his debut for Manchester United against Arsenal, and he's done nothing since. It's just absolute brutal.
Yeah.
I've missed this in the run sheet, but I'm going to go the ladder of what Stats Guy just said. I'm going to go Timo Werner as bell end of the week purely because he's moved to Tottenham and he's got an assist already. I loved him at Chelsea. I didn't want him to leave, but seeing him in the white of Spurs is bittersweet.
For me, my bell end is Anana. He left England on straight after the game at Old Trafford the other night to make the Cameroon game in the African Cup of Nations. I think he ended up making it, but he was stranded at one point about 150 miles away because there was some technical difficulties in fog, and they had to get into a car to get him to that game to play in the opening game of the Cup of Nations. So I'm just checking up right now if he actually made it in the end, because it was touch and go there.
Wow.
If he was going to make it. He was left out of the squad for their opener after a nightmare journey to the Ivory Coast. So there you go. Bell end of the week, not leaving your club when you've been picked to play for your country because you're so scared of losing your spot at your club because you are rooted to the goal line and don't even try to make a save. Come on.
He does just stand there a lot. He's like a statue.
He literally
sometimes.
just stands there and goes, ugh. God, I hope I save this. And then the ball just rolls past him every time. It was just pathetic. Anyway, speaking of the opposite of what Onana does, goals. Goal of the week, stats guy, go.
Anthony Gordon. I know that Newcastle lost this one, but their opening 2 goals for Newcastle were absolutely awesome. So the only 2 goals. They were absolutely awesome. Gordon, finesse finish, just that R1 circle in FIFA if you want to do that. Oh, yeah, EAFC now. Centimetre perfect, as Dennis would have said. Just straight around 2 defenders, and I thought it was absolutely awesome. Just cut inside. He's having such a good season and a half. It's been an awesome signing for Newcastle. Just too bad a few of their other players didn't step up and they choked in the end.
I'm going to go a fellow Newcastle player, actually. I'll go Alexander Isak for this goal. He had a lot of work to do. And for such a big man, how good is he technically? He's so good. One of the best strikers in the league. And he was just very smart how he waited for the overlap sort of to get Kyle Walker sort of second guessing to create that space. And similar to Gordon, just finessed it into the far post.
Yeah.
And quick side note, Cameroon drew with Guinea this morning. So not great there for Cameroon drawing with Guinea in the African Cup of Nations. My goal of the week was Kevin de Bruyne, literally just passing it into the net from 25 yards. Absolute beautiful goal to watch. I've seen him do that way too many times for Manchester City against Arsenal. He had half an inch, he took it and scored. And it was just, okay, he's back. Everyone else in the EPL is in a lot of trouble right now because this is the time where Manchester City win 19 straight games. And we're just again.
How nuts is it? Like, they're only 2 points off top and they haven't had De Bruyne or Haaland, and now they're coming back. And it just shows how ridiculous their squad is.
They had a bit of a blip as well when, what was it? They lost to Brentford, was it? Or I can't remember who it was. No, that was last Wolves. Yeah, they had that blip, and everyone's like, "Oh, are they dropped off?" No, you can never count them out. Pep's coaching, they've got such a freak squad, so you can never count them out.
It's not as if they've got 115 charges sitting over their head for financial fair play, but it's all right. We'll just go after Nottingham Forest and Everton, not the guys that have literally cheated.
I was going to say, we should probably touch on that, how Notts and Everton are financial breaches and base points deductions. They've confirmed that they did breach. So interesting to see what happens there with Everton already being docked 10 points.
Well, so Nottingham Forest's argument is that because the period ended on July 30th and they got ahead of it by selling Brennan Johnson. The problem is they didn't sell Brennan Johnson till the last day of the transfer window. And they're going to argue that because it was within the transfer window, it should count, but it's going to be like the EPL or whoever it is will state you had till the end of July to do this. By waiting that extra month, you've actually gone past it. It's black and white. You've gone over. Unfortunately, yes, you've made this player sale, but you've gone over the allotment that you're allowed to lose, so therefore they're going to get punished. It'll probably be 10 points. Everton will probably cop another 10 points. But the fact that these are just 1 or 2 charges and the points deductions or whatever the penalties are will be decided by, I had a look at this one. It's the end of May. So basically a week after the season is the deadline. They'll obviously make the decision before that. But these are just 1 or 2 charges, whereas Manchester City have 115 against them, which is why it got announced this time last year around Christmas in 2022. That's why it's taking so long. There's 115 individual charges. And the same for Chelsea. Let's not forget Chelsea. They are looking into, I think it's 40 or 50 different charges as well.
I think we got cleared. They checked us with Everton and Nottingham Forest just for these financial breaches over that period. The sustainability
this is back
breaches.
To the
Abramovich.
Abramovich,
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So, a lot of watch this space. It does seem... It's hard to ignore that it's Everton and Notts that are getting that is who are the clubs that have been going after when Manchester City are just about to win their 5th title in 6 years and everyone's just like, cool. It doesn't seem right, but
Look, I know I'm saying this as a Chelsea fan, and I'm probably going to cop in the comments or something. It's a bit biased, but do you think it's a bit of a harsh penalty to be docked points for a current season when, you know, maybe these financial breaches happened in previous ownerships? It's happened a decade, 15 years ago. Is there a different punishment that you can do?
Nope, you still cheated.
Yeah, I'll agree with that one, Alex. I think even no matter when it is, there's a lot of things you could do. You could get rid of money of clubs, but then lots of these big clubs have unlimited amount of money, things like that. I feel like if you were going to some other leagues, you could, dock them, different salary caps or things like that, but it's not really going to affect Chelsea that much. Whereas if you were to do dock points of Man City or Chelsea, that would have actually affected and kicked them up the arse a little bit more.
Yeah, and you also look like you've had it here in the AFL where Carlton got done for salary cap breaches. It cost them 15 years of basically having any hope of being a good football side. You have a look, what was it, Juventus and one of the Milans in the Serie A copped it for attempted match fixing and bribing of referees. So, I'm all for it.
Juventus got relegated in the thousands. So, it could have maybe possibly even, I know this is pretty limited, but a transfer ban for 2 or 3 windows, would that do anything, or I'm not sure.
Yeah, well, we'll have to have a think about it. I'm not too sure, to be honest.
You've got because the transfer ban also doesn't do anything. It's for this sort of thing where the precedent's been set. It's a points docking or a relegation. It's one or the other, depending on how egregious the breaches are. But anyway, let's move on for that. We got to quickly talk about the other games of the weekend. Quick dot points about the other. Burnley and Luton ended in a 1-1 draw. This ended in controversy with Luton scoring the equaliser. Basically, it was one of the last kicks of the game, and I think everyone thought VAR would intervene on the goal and be like, yep, foul on the goalie. For some reason, the VAR went, no, it's cool. It's Burnley and Luton. No one's going to care.
Yeah. That was a joke, wasn't it? Really?
It's a foul.
It's a foul every day of the week. I know James Trafford, he's not the best at dealing with set pieces.
But he got cleaned up.
He did get cleaned up. As well as it wasn't even the player going for the ball. It was the player sort of initiating that contact. That should have been I think Burnley got a little bit robbed there.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, it did seem a bit dodgy, and like you said, Alex, like people do care about it. I know it's 2 of the lower teams, but you still got to fix it up, and VAR's been all over the shop.
3 points there for Burnley could have been very important, especially with pending potential points losses for Everton and Notts as well later in the season. So watch this space. Chelsea beat Fulham 1-0. Cole Palmer scored from a penalty. I just want to point out that Richarlison has more goals from open play this year than Cole Palmer.
And Cole Palmer has more open play goals than Bukayo Saka. So there we go.
Right. And Cole Palmer's a lot younger, and he's going to have a much brighter future.
Is he? Is he a lot younger, Stats guy?
Oh, I feel like he is.
It's just the way he's playing on the pitch in general play is just ridiculous.
Unbelievable. Some of the flick-ons,
Cole Palmer is 1 year younger than Bukayo Saka, Stats guy.
Yeah, I think. I think if you look at it like you say, he scored heaps of penalties, but if you obviously
the fact that he's burying
Chelsea
them at
games,
21 years old.
Yeah, he's 5 from 5, and he's doing it against the big teams. Did against Arsenal, did against City. Yeah, what a player.
He is burying them. We already talked about Newcastle and Manchester City. Great game. If you haven't seen the highlights of that, make sure you do so. Same with Man United and Spurs. Talked about that. And we'll finish off with Everton 0, Villa 0. This is more an indictment on Villa's away from home form, as we talked about last week. Struggling to win games away from home will cost them the title and potentially Champions League. Everton, handy point.
Yeah, they were really solid in defence. You got Pickford. He just pulls out every couple of games. He just pulls out an amazing performance. That's why he's the English keeper. He was great. Villa had a couple of offside goals, so they were a little bit stiff. But Everton did well. They need that. I feel bad for Everton though. They're probably going to lose some more points and ultimately get relegated. But we'll have to wait and see.
Just so Goodison was a tough place to go when they announced those points deductions. But if they announce a further 10, it's going to be absolute medlem.
Yeah, going to be even worse. For fantasy updates this week, no real updates given we are midway through match week 21. Basically, you haven't got Kevin de Bruyne in your team, even if he's only going to play half an hour for the next 6 weeks. Just get him in. After captaining him last week mistakenly, I still got 24 points from 20 minutes of football, which is unbelievable.
How good is that?
Before we head off to our ad break, the low light of the show for us three here on Football Today, it is the trivia question with Leo. Leo, come on in and make us feel embarrassed for our lack of ball knowledge.
All right, boys. I feel like these are getting easier every week. So hopefully you can get this one.
Let's go.
Which EPL team is first for average possession this season? And I'll give you a bonus point if you can guess the percentage.
Well, okay. I feel like I don't know if that's easy. Is that easy? Let me have a think. Okay. Well, it's got to be Man City.
I'm gonna go Chelsea here, and I'm gonna go average possession 63.
63. I'm gonna go Man City 60. I got no idea though.
Oh God.
I really hope one of us gets this.
Yeah. I'm gonna go Arsenal with 62.
All right. Well, there's no bonus points, but one of you is right.
Ooh.
And that's the stats guy.
Yeah.
Man City. They have 64.3%.
Oh, I was only
It seemed too obvious to back Manchester City.
I thought I was going to say Chelsea. I was maybe going to say Arsenal, and I was like, oh, you got to go Man City. They just dominate, especially the last 4 weeks. So I'm happy with that, boys. I'm on the board.
Well, they had something like 70% possession last weekend against Newcastle, so that makes sense.
Yeah, that definitely helps to. Was it 64%? That's a crazy average.
That's too bait, Leo. Too bait of the question.
Yeah.
I said I was making it easy.
Yeah.
All right. With that being done, well done, Stats Guy. You've got a point. I think that takes Stats Guy to 2. That's how good we're going here. We're going to take a quick break. You're going to hear Stats Guy talk about his other show, Cricket Today. We'll be back after this to talk about all Aussie football adventures.
Lock in for a huge summer of slog sixes, rattle bales, and classic snags with the daily Cricket Today podcast. Keep up to date with all things BBL, BBL Supercoach, tests, ODIs, and T20s this summer, as well as the highlights and socials all season long. Search Cricket Today on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
All right, boys, welcome back. Welcome back, everyone, to Football Today for the second half of the show. It is all Aussie adventures time, and we're going to start off with the women. Of course, overseas at the moment in the WSL, we had the FA Cup going on midweek. Mary Fowler scored again for Manchester City as they won quite easily. Mackenzie Arnold actually got an assist for West Ham against Chelsea. Katrina Gorry made her first start for West Ham. She also picked up her first yellow card for West Ham, as is tradition with Katrina Gorry, so good on her. Charlotte Grant made her debut for Tottenham. Arsenal, a.k.a. Kyra Cooney-Cross, Steph Catley, and Caitlin Ford whipped Watford 5-1. And Emily Van Egmond signed a new deal with Wave FC. I have no idea where that is. I think it might be San Diego for the 2025 season in America now that her short tenure back in the A-League is finished. And funnily enough, it came out this morning that her dad, I believe, who was also the coach there, he's going to China.
Oh, so he's gone.
That literally came out in the last hour. Yep.
San Diego.
Breaking news with Alex.
Breaking news.
You're right with San Diego FC, Wave FC, that is San Diego.
Yeah.
So in the American League, which we've talked up before, is one of the best women's leagues in the world.
That's ball knowledge there from Alex.
Yeah.
Take that, all you NPCs on Instagram who get into me for my lack of knowledge. I know my America teams. Anyway, take us through the Asian Cup game over the weekend, guys. We had a 2-0 win to kick off the tournament.
Yeah, we sure did. Against India, probably it wasn't convincing. I watched that game. The first half was pretty horrendous. But you got to give credit to India where credit's due, because they were very stubborn in defence. They were very workmanlike. It was just a great sort of defensive performance, and it was a mistake to make us go 1-0 ahead by their keeper. But then once we brought on Bruno Fornaroli, Jordan Boss, the game started to switch a little bit, and I think we looked a lot more. I wouldn't say tiki-taka because that's not Australian, but the way we were spreading the pitch and switching the ball was a lot quicker and a lot better. But we got the win, the 3 points. That's all that matters. Bacchus was excellent in defensive midfield. So good signs for Australia. They got Syria coming up soon.
Yeah, I think in these cup games, you just got to get over the line in those ones. We probably should have won this, probably at least 5-0 or something. The amount of corners we had, I feel like the one thing we need to work on in the build-up games, we sort of had a lot of corners go to Big Harry, and Harry is the clear tallest player in this tournament. He was a head above everyone from India. Just our crosses to him were horrible. If you get it anywhere near his big head, he's going to score. Yeah. So I feel like we just need to work on our corners. And once we get those corners set and just score a few goals off and get a bit of confidence up, we can go a long way in the tournament. I feel like that's going to be the difference for our team, because we're not, like you said on the other podcast, Marcus, we don't have many match winners for later in the tournament. But on those set pieces and corners, I feel like we can be a real threat.
Yeah, get Aziz Beich and Martin Boyle off corner duties because the amount of times that they didn't get past the first man was ridiculous.
That was
They must
very,
have been
very
watching
annoying.
Leandro Trossard take corners as of late for Arsenal.
Yeah, they might have actually.
Yeah. Of note, South Korea easily disposed of Bahrain. They won 3-1. Son Heung-min picked up a yellow card, but they won that very easily. But Hwang Hee-chan wasn't in the squad, and you can say the same for Japan. They won their first game, but no Takahiro Tomiyasu or Kubo in the teams. They are fine and fit. They just are not match fit as of yet, so they've been training away from the squad. And because you take 26 players with you, you can only name 23 in your matchday squad at the Asian Cup. So,
really? Okay.
There's that.
Yep.
Things you learn. And Egypt, of note for the Mo Salah fans or the Mohamed El Neni fans, they drew with Mozambique and had to rely on a 90th minute penalty from Salah to get that draw. So not the best of starts there for Egypt, as every fan other than Liverpool hopes that Egypt make a deep run into the African Cup of Nations.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right, let's get across to the transfer portal. Let's have a look at what's going on here. Stats guy, you love Saudi Arabia, so talk us through Jordan Henderson.
I definitely don't. I cannot stand that league. But yeah, he's like we said the other week, he wanted to come back to the Premier League. All the Premier League's like, no, you're old, you're done, we don't want you. But Ajax, I'm wearing the Ajax kit right now. Actually, I love their kits. They're looking at going for him. I don't mind that. They probably need a bit of an old head there. I need to check where they are in the Eredivisie. Whereabouts are they? I think they'd be 6th or something like that. This is their worst run they've had.
Not going well.
This is their worst run they've had in about 6 seasons. I don't know what's going on there. They're usually top of the table or top 2. So I don't mind that move for Ajax. I feel like it's just a little bit lesser standard, obviously, than the Premier League. So Henderson going there, don't mind it. Definitely not ready for Premier League again, Henderson. So he can get stuffed.
Yeah, definitely experience needed there at Ajax, and Jordan Henderson has that in abundance, doesn't he?
Absolutely.
But other news out of Saudi Arabia, Benzema wanting out of Saudi. Didn't come back after New Year's to the club, so he was left out of the squad.
He was having a few beers.
No surprises there. He's still getting his salary. But apparently, of course, this was just, I'm not sure how true this is, but there's rumours Premier League clubs interested, like Chelsea, who need strikers, and other clubs. So who knows?
I don't know where we're getting that money from, Chelsea. This is why it's even more dodgy.
It's a loan, stats guy, so that's not too bad.
Sure,
it wouldn't be a transfer window without Arsenal having been linked to Benzema somehow, even though he's never going to come there. Manchester United youngster Hannibal went out on loan to Sevilla, and there's an option to buy him there. Every chance he may end up staying there because he's only gotten a couple of games and not many starts under Erik ten Hag. Full of talent, a lot of hair, but can play, and probably a good signing for Sevilla, and probably going forward there as well.
Yeah, he showed a few signs of a guy that can definitely improve, and maybe he just needs a bit of time away, and then he might be able to come back in the future because I'm just having a look. He got a goal earlier in the season for Man U. Still a young guy, so I feel like that's a good move for him. Sevilla's a good team, so don't mind it. Nope.
Good stuff, Marcus. Got absolutely nothing out. I thought he was going to come in there with something.
I'll come in with something. His hairdo is pretty good.
Nice.
Oh, we'll move on to the final one. Seeing as I'll segue this thoroughly. Bruno Guimaraes links to PSG. He was in Paris yesterday. But unfortunately, I'm sorry to break your hearts, guys, but that is fake news. He was in Paris, but it's got nothing to do with. It's pure coincidence. So I know
There's
how
no
much
such thing as a coincidence, Fabrizio.
I know how much you want to see Bruno Guimaraes out of the Premier League, but Fabrizio has come out and said fake news, coincidence.
The quicker he's out of the Premier League, the quicker he's not breaking our favourite player's legs. So, but if it's fake news, he's probably going to stay in Newcastle then, isn't he?
Well, they need the money, and PSG seemingly always have money. But anyway, let's get a look at the Asian Cup, sort of looking ahead to some games that are coming up. Most importantly, the Australians take on Syria this Thursday. Saudi Arabia get their tournament underway against Oman tomorrow morning, so that'll be Wednesday morning. Main games, Iraq and Japan is on Friday night as well. They're probably sort of the main games coming up in the next few days.
Yeah, it was good that Syria and Uzbekistan in our group, their opening match was a 0-0 draw. That's handy for Australia. So if we get another win, we can jump a few wins above and be easily the best team in that group. So we just got to beat Syria here. Same sort of vibe as India. I think Syria is obviously a better side than India, but we just need to just finish our chances a bit better. Hopefully another 2-0 win, and we're on our way.
Yeah, I'll just quickly touch on the African Cup of Nations as well. Morocco are playing on Thursday as well, so that'll be a great watch after their brilliant World Cup performance. They play Tanzania, and then Ivory Coast, Nigeria on Friday. That should be an excellent game in the group stage.
Yeah, nice. That'd be really good.
All right, that is the Tuesday show done and dusted this week here on Football Today. We'll be back later in the week to take a look at the remaining games this weekend in the EPL, as well as we could potentially touch on what's going on at the Asian Cup, the African Cup of Nations, and if any transfer news has happened as well. But we are done and dusted. Thanks for not coming into the office, all of you.
You are welcome.
No worries.
Anyway, thanks to Gerald for producing. The computers made it through the episode here. Thanks to me for being here in my awesome Arsenal Stella McCartney kit. Make sure to check us out on the social medias at Football Today Pod on TikTok, Instagram, X, Facebook, wherever else we are as well. Please give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. I'm going to keep yelling about that into the ether because those 5-star ratings really do help us out, as well as move us up the charts on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. But make sure you do get around those social medias. We're going to be having a bunch of fun on those over the upcoming weeks and months. But I think we are done and dusted. So, boys, I'll see you in the office tomorrow. We'll catch you next week on Football Today.